Florida homeowners. I've got to talk about this because it's wild. The same politicians who swore that they would end property taxes are now working quietly behind the scenes to kill the whole plan. And the crazy part is, it's a plan that actually makes sense. One that could give real relief to homeowners and families across Florida. Governor DeSantis rolled it out. He said, you shouldn't be renting your home from the government.
You ought to be able to own that free and clear of the government. The notion that you should be just paying rent to them indefinitely.
But instead of standing behind him, some Florida Republicans are now playing games, twisting the ballot, and hoping you don't notice what they're doing. Let's break it down a bit because this is one of those they said one thing, did another story every homeowner needs to hear. So here's the big picture. DeSantis' plan wasn't random. He wanted to let you, the voters, decide in November 2026 whether Florida should eliminate property taxes on your primary home, the one you actually live in. Not your vacation condo, not your Airbnb, your real home. If it passes, it could have meant no more annual property tax bill hanging over homeowners for decades. That's huge, especially for people on a fixed income, retirees, or families barely keeping up with insurance and utility hikes. It was supposed to be simple, one clean question on the ballot. Should Florida eliminate property taxes on homesteaded homes? Yes or no? That's it. But that's not what's happening. Here's where it gets shady. Instead of putting one clear bill on the ballot, lawmakers are loading it with eight different versions of basically the same idea. And you might be thinking, okay, more options sounds good, but that's exactly the trick. See, in Florida, for any constitutional amendment to pass, it needs 60% of the votes. So if you split people's vote across 8 versions, none of them hit 60. That means nothing passes. It's not reform, it's more like sabotage. They can stand on stage and say we gave people a choice. But really, it's a setup to make sure no change actually happens. They even throw in fancy sounding extras like, this will protect law enforcement budgets. Which sounds nice, but that's already Florida law. It's just a distraction from the real issue, keeping property taxes right where they are. Now, here's what makes this even more complicated. The fight isn't coming from Democrats this time. It's coming from inside DeSantis' own party. Representative Toby Overdorf, who helped lead the property tax committee, flat out said eliminating property taxes completely isn't realistic. And others are doing what politicians do best, creating committees, studies, and reports to delay everything until it dies quietly in the background. Meanwhile, DeSantis is pointing to the numbers. Florida's debt is down 50%. There is $15 billion in reserves, and the state has more than enough to cover the counties that rely on property taxes. He even said, and I quote, we could replace all that lost property tax revenue using just a fraction of our budget surplus. So, if the math adds up, what's the real reason they're blocking it? All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Money, power, and control. Local government love property taxes because they're easy, steady income. Every time your home value goes up, they make more money, even if they don't raise the tax rate. That's how they funded everything from schools to pet project and sometimes some questionable spending. DeSantis actually created a department to audit all of that. It's called the Department of Government Efficiency. And guess what they found? Counties spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on things like tree counting studies, climate action plan, and vehicle allowances for county employees. In one case, a single sidewalk project cost $7.5 million. That's like buying a Ferrari for every block. So when you ask, why not just cut waste? That's exactly the problem. These politicians don't want to cut waste. They would rather keep collecting your property tax money, keep the budget bloated, and act like they're helping. Let's bring this home for a second. You might be thinking, okay, but how does this really affect me? If you're a homeowner, it's obvious. Your property tax bill is one of your biggest yearly expenses. Even if you've paid off your mortgage, that bill never goes away. It's like paying rent forever just to stay in a house you already own. And if you're a seller, this matters as well. Buyers pay attention to taxes. High taxes can make your house harder to sell and shrink your buyer pool. If Florida actually got rid of property taxes for primary homes, that could be a huge selling point. But right now, we are watching a tug-of-war between the governor who says, we can do this, and politicians who are saying, let's slow this down. And guess who's stuck in the middle? They're backing out because they don't want to lose control. If property taxes disappear, that means state and local leaders actually have to make some tough decisions, what to cut, what to fund, and where to save. They can't just raise assessments every year and call it a day. And for many of them, those inflated budgets supports their own donors, their programs, and sometimes even their salaries. And the truth is, they're not really worried about you. They're worried about themselves, their position, their re-election, and their political ties. That's why they're trying to bury this under a pile of options, committees, and confusion. Because confusion keeps the money flowing. So, what's next and what can we do? If you believe homeowners deserve real relief, then Florida lawmakers need to put one clear question on the ballot. Not 8, not 5, 1. Should Florida eliminate property taxes on homesteaded homes? Yes or no? That's it. Let the people decide. And when the time comes, don't vote for anyone who dances around that question. If they say things like we're studying it or we're going to explore some options, that's usually political talk, but we're not doing it. Support the ones ready to take action because this affects every homeowner in this state. Here's the bottom line. They promised to end property taxes in Florida. DeSantis is calling it out, and honestly, I'm glad he is. Because homeowners deserve to know what's really going on. If you want to stay ahead of these updates and how they affect your home, your neighborhood, and maybe even your next sale, make sure you subscribe. And tell me in the comments, would you support ending property taxes? Well, I guess for now, we have to render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 21, they asked Jesus if people should pay taxes to Caesar. And his answer still hits home today. He didn't say it was right or fair. He just reminded them that some things belong to this world and some things belong to God. Because even when the system feels heavy or unfair, our confidence cannot depend on politicians or policies. It has to come from the one who never changes. See, the world runs on money, control, and numbers. But God's economy runs on faith, stewardship, and trust. When you put Him first, He multiplies what's left. He can stretch it, strengthen it, and sustain it in ways no government ever could. So if you're tired of watching prices rise, bills pile up, and promises break, God hasn't forgotten you. He sees the efforts, the long night, and the faith it takes just to keep going. And maybe that's what Jesus was really saying. Even while we give Caesar or the government what's required, we never stop giving God our best. Because when you keep Him first, He will handle what's beyond your reach. He always does. I'm Teresa. Thanks for taking this moment with me. Keep trusting and keep building the life that God called you to, one faithful step at a time. Hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.